Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear that? Oh, technology. Yay! Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there. I know it's not easy when you can't hear. Ah, which is really appropriate for the message for today. Slower and slower. For fast acting relief, try slowing down. Actor Lily Tomlin shared that. For fast acting relief, try slowing down. It makes total sense. When our brains are overwhelmed with stress or grief or frustration, we actually cannot think straight. And I'm going to get all sciencey here for a moment, so just hang with me. Scientists report that when chronic stress is experienced, the body makes more cortisol than it has a chance to release. This is when cortisol and stress can lead to trouble. High levels of cortisol can wear down the brain's ability to actually function properly. According to several studies, chronic stress impairs brain function in multiple ways and can disrupt synapse regulation, resulting in the loss of sociability and the avoidance of interaction with others. Stress kills brain cells, and it can even reduce the size of our brains, impairing memory and decision making. Cortisol is believed to create a domino effect that hardwires pathways between the hippocampus and the amygdala in a way that might create a vicious cycle of a brain that is predisposed to being in a fight-flight response constantly. So chronic stress doesn't just lead to impaired cognitive function, it also can lead to other significant problems such as increased risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes. Other systems of the body stop working properly as well, including the digestive, you feel it in your gut when you're stressed, excretory and reproductive structures. Toxic stress can impair the body's immune system and exacerbate an already existing illness. Chronic stress devastates our bodies and our minds, and our brains start insisting that we're always in this fight or flight place. We shut down, we isolate, we stop communicating. We're not just feeling stressed and chronic stress. Our souls are wounded and our spirits contract. And all that reminded me of a time long ago when I was a young person living in Minnesota for school, when everything fell apart during spring semester. Have you ever had a time like that? Everything fell apart spring semester. A so-so relationship ended badly. My living situation and job were super stressful. School was overwhelming. And overall, everything was just off and awful and wrong. The kicker was that so-so relationship ended with that person driving me home from Minnesota to Maryland in an icy and awful, tense, really long super car ride, and summarily dumped my belongings on the lawn before driving off. Ouch. So I announced to my horrified parents that I was taking the fall semester off from school and I wanted to travel. I was 19, about to turn 20, and overwhelmed and feeling at the time completely broken. I barely slept, I barely ate, and I cried all the time. I dove into my work at my summer job at NIH and came up with a plan. I'd drive across the country by myself. So I worked multiple jobs, full-time at NIH, and I house sat, pet sat, baby sat, plant sat, whatever sat, and worked as an usher at the LGBTQ theater in DC. I scraped up all the money that I could, and before the time of cell phones and GPS, set out to drive west with a book of maps and a sleeve of CDs. Do you remember those? A sleeve of CDs for your car? And the urge to flee to find my heart again. What I found driving all those miles across the Midwest and over to Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and up into California was the vastness of this land, the quiet and the emptiness of the countryside. I stayed in campsites and on communes, a really fun feminist commune in the middle of the mountains in Colorado. I stayed in youth hostels and cheap hotels. I met amazing people, kind and generous as the miles rolled by. Everyone had a story to share. For fast acting relief, try slowing down. I remember one day while driving through Arizona in the desert, I had a rule that anytime the gas tank got below a half tank, I'd stop and get gas because I never knew how far it was to the next gas station. So one day in the middle of the desert, I had to pull over to the side of the road and just get out and look around. There was nothing but desert and mountains on all sides around me. Not one single human-made structure or building in sight, and it was glorious. I stood there with tears streaming down my face and made this small circle taking pictures with my camera, an actual camera with actual film in a 360-degree turn. And I remember feeling my heart swell, feeling that shred of a heart that was left inside my chest just swell at the magnificence of creation, the gifts of solitude and quiet, the awe of beholding the vast world beyond me and my tiny hurts and heartbreaks. Those stories that people shared with me came flooding and rushing into my heart, and it gave me hope again. That trip healed my heart and gave me life, a will and purpose to live and go on and finish school. I think about that time a lot recently. Given everything that we're facing personally and as a people, I think about all of the stress, all of the rage and grief that we're holding onto and what it's doing to our spirits. That chronic stress that's weighing and wearing on us. Scientists find that we are also resilient in our healing, though. Plasticity, or specifically neuroplasticity, plasticity, refers to the ways that neural pathways are able to reform, remake themselves in the brain. It's true that these pathways, like the one between the hippocampus and the amygdala, can get severely damaged due to constant exposure to stress, but such changes are not necessarily permanent. While stress can negatively affect the brain and the body can recover. We can recover. Slow down. We can repair, restore, recover our spirits by slowing down. Like what Carla shared with us this morning, by that, not a emaciated balloon breath, but that deep breath that you feel at the bottom of your ribs. Slow down. It's time to slow down. just as we've been reminded to do by the now international slow movement. Have you heard of this? I'm going to scroll through and look at y'all for a moment. Anyone heard of the international slow movement? Hi, look at all your faces. Hi, everyone. Hi, Fran. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Terry. I love it when you wave. Thank you. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Martha. Hi, Marty. Yeah, slow down and say good morning and hello. The slow movement has its roots in the slow food movement. And I love the origin story of the slow food movement. The slow food movement started in the 1980s in Italy, when McDonald's was planning to build a franchise outlet near the Piazza di Smagna in Rome in 1986. Carlo Petrini organized a demonstration in which he and his followers brandished bowls of penne as weapons of protest. Yes, bowls of handmade penne. Their demonstration was successful, and soon after, Carlo founded the International Slow Food Movement, which I encourage you to find out more about. It runs counter to the fast food movement, fast life, non-sustainable food production, and the eroding of local economies. The founders share the slow food movement challenges us to think about how consumption choices we make form a part of that interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, that network within a social economy. It challenges us and invites us to think about the pleasures of food preparation and consumption among friends and family that develops social and cultural capital. And as a side point, today is National Buy Nothing Day, to that point about thinking about consumption. An important component of the slow food movement is the commitment to educate children about the origins and taste of food, to help them have a connection to the food they eat. I remember years ago watching British chef Jamie Oliver show a group of children the raw forms of vegetables they ate regularly. Many of them could not identify vegetables in their raw form. This slow food movement encourages them and helps them develop their senses and appreciation of food and the pleasure of eating as a gastronomic and social event. And the principle of the slow movement overall is truly elegant. The slow movement aims to address the issue of time poverty through making connections. Time poverty, that sense that we don't have enough time for everything, to do what we want to do, to have what we want to have, that FOMO. You may have seen that FOMO, fear of missing out, that creeps in as we doom scroll or scroll through social media. Time poverty, the pace of busyness, slow food, slow travel, slow worship, slow living, slow loving. Just slow down. Notice, pay attention, savor, breathe. Don't rush. Slower and slower to heal and to grow. Listen and linger. Chat with a neighbor. Smile at the kids playing at the park. Slow down. I've often thought about busyness is a choice. We choose what we pay attention to give our energy to, our time and our resources to. We choose to either stay present or to let our thoughts spin out and away out of our control. It's no surprise that Buddhism is one of the fastest growing religions in the world. Meditation and mindfulness provide a counterbalance to time poverty and overconsumption. And this, my beloved family, is the justice issue. That old bumper sticker, live simply so others may live, is an act of faith, an act of defiance against a system of oppression that insists that we have to have more, get more and more in order to be successful at the expense of others' ability to survive and thrive. And right now, that is a matter of life and death, more and more, when we're called to less and less. What came to mind as I wrote that is large family gatherings of friends and neighbor are spreading the virus and putting entire communities at risk. Live simply so others may live. Said another way, Vicki Robin reminds us, slow down to the speed of wisdom. Beloveds, this is an overwhelming time filled with grief, filled with heartache, frustrations, and hurts that plague us. How can it not? So much is out of our control, and yet we are called to push against it, push back against all of it all by slowing down, connecting, breathing, slowing down to the speed of wisdom. That is where our ancestors live. That is where a love greater than ourselves lives and thrives. That is where the reminders of community and faith invite us to transform the world just through our courageous love and our witness and siding with love. Framed another way, Buddhist teacher Dwayne Elgin reminds us, simplicity of living, if deliberately chosen, implies a compassionate approach to life. It means that we are choosing to live our daily lives with some degree of conscious appreciation of the condition of the rest of the world. Live simply so others may live. So this is my humble challenge for you this day, and I'd love to hear about your experiments in slowing down and simplicity. Challenge for this day, just a few days after Thanksgiving, that is also the National Indigenous Day of Mourning. And on this National Buy Nothing Day, beloveds, I ask you, how can you slow down to connect, to refresh, to recenter? How can you live simply, perhaps just for today, just an hour, so others may live? Maybe by making something from scratch. How about fresh pasta, like the bowls of penne protest pasta in Italy, and share it with a friend? Or drop flowers at someone's door just 'cause. Maybe go through all the pictures on your cell phone. Have